8 weeks out to the Tampa Pro, or am I? I know I've been giving some slight hints across social and seeing where I'm headed physique-wise, and woke up today at 221.4, which has been a pretty big drop off the visuals, and these visuals are from training in the gym. I already have a very, very crisp look from the front shot. I mean, it's lots of striations in, glute lines are starting to come through, and around that time is around the 6 week mark is when that would kind of be happening. So, and even body weight wise, there is more to go. I do see myself probably getting close to that 215 mark. Very well could be making 212, and I would do so, honestly, because if you could win a show at 212, it would be awesome, qualify for Olympia. Then I can feed up and do something maybe later closer to the Olympia in the open for fun. So I am still gonna say we're counting down to Tampa, but with a very, probably pretty strong plan that to do Chicago, if that's in the cards. I'm not gonna force it to happen, but the fat loss rate is just moving. So having these, you know, last time you saw me have like this untracked meal of, you know, sushi, we had actually some cookies too. And man, I eat and then I feel fresh and I can keep output really high, like throughout the day. Like my cardio's eating, my steps, I should say, because I'm only doing 15,000 steps a day, no direct cardio work, but fatigue's well managed. Like that day of going out on a date with Renee, like it freshens me up mentally, physically, and I end up like expending more just because I have good energy throughout the rest of the week. So that's been working well. And so the base plan hasn't really changed. And now fat loss is really moving along and we're seeing a lot more detail come in a lot faster. So that's where I'm at as far as my plan goes. Haven't changed anything in a while. Running the same diet, which is right around, and these are just the rough estimates, 2,600 calories, 300 grams of protein, 250 grams of carbs on training days, drops to 175 on my off days. And fats are 50 grams on training days, and they drop a little bit on off days to 40 grams. So that hasn't changed. The steps haven't changed. It's just things are moving along because I'm managing fatigue better. And that's the key here is when you manage fatigue, you'll be able to keep making the most quality out of your cardio, out of your training, out of your steps that you're doing. So what happens is really fat loss starts to slow because the deficit decreases because of fatigue and someone's not outputting as much quality as they normally would. So you get lazy is the main thing. It's not metabolic adaptation, or you might have fatigue in water masking fat loss as occurring the whole time. So just some insights around how do you get to that next level condition. And this is it, finding a way to manage the deficit that creates the lowest amount of fatigue possible, so you can keep aggressively getting after the deficit and having fat loss occur. So anyway, PEDs, that hasn't changed either. I've been running the same stack design because gym performance is maintaining. So that is your justification for stack additions or subtractions. Fat loss, lipolytics, those haven't changed either. Just running the same because everything's going pretty smoothly. Sleep has been a bit more disruptive though, starting to get a lower body fat where you start to wake up a bit more. I think that have to do with like probably fluid intake is increasing a little bit. Just par for the course, but overall still well managed. We're gonna train pull today. That's what we're about to go do, and have made some slight changes to my pre-workout meal, which we can see, which still doing oats, but what I found is doing 50 grams of whey in this, it was starting to get too sweet for me. And so now I do like 100 grams of egg and 50 grams of spinach, which is a weird pre-workout, but again, it's the idea here is more managing hunger, but also providing like enough stable levels of blood glucose. And again, I'll be gone for a while here training, so I don't need some fast digesting carbohydrate source. Some fiber is okay, some veggies are fine. So people are like, how are you going to digest all those oats before training? It's like oats can digest relatively pretty quick, especially when it's in just with whey, but digestion wise, this does really well for me. So anyway, we'll head on our way to the gym. So I pulled the trigger and I got a tanning membership, which usually I procrastinate so bad on. So I hate driving to this tanning salon, laying in here, just a time kill. So I did it. I got an expensive lotion. It's like $50 for lotion, which is hard for me to spend that money on. But hopefully it'll make a difference to make the tan come out really, really good. It's not an area that you want to mess up on for getting on stage, and I've done it before. It's so frustrating. So we'll get a base coat in place and try to be dark as a coal miner on stage. Right, the tanning was actually really nice because on prep you can start like racing around and not take much time to just be mindful and relax your mind. And that's what I did in there, and it was totally awesome. So I think it'll be helpful. Just breathe your nose, out your mouth, kind of stupid relaxation stuff. But it was helpful, because with how busy I am, you just race around, and on prep, like relaxation time is important too. So that's what I will do when I'm tanning. Right now, I have dedicated 3 days a week. I'm gonna go Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday without fail. Like, that is what must happen, and stick to that routine. So, and just slowly build up my time in the bed. Anyway, let's get to training. Right, we have a pull session going in today. Today is I used to have a hip hinge, but it is my more upper back bias. So I'll start with an upper back bias pull down, go into a bent row, and then into a seated lat row from there, and go to shrug work today. I am tweaked in the gym today. The stimulants are just hitting me right. So it should be a wicked session. Hit a body weight low. But either way, I think the stimulants are just going to carry me through. So let's kick it off and get going. One thing I have changed, which I really like, is on the way to the gym, I quit taking my caffeinated Fury, and I drink hot coffee at the gym. Then in the gym, I will drink Animal Pump Pro, and then finish that about halfway through. So that has all like my creatine and citrulline and electrolytes and some huperzine stuff in it like that. Then the rest of the time, I'll just drink Crystal Light. So, as you get on prep, you like want more fluids. But man, there's just a kick I get out of coffee that I just can't get out of just straight caffeine for free. So, and I just love coffee. So that might be the secret to staying tweaked on prep. But my overall coffee intake hasn't increased, just so you know. I usually have 2 cups in the morning, so now it's 1 cup, then I do tea and water the rest of the time. Then I have my next cup, just pre-workout. It just got pushed back some. So that was great. Pull downs went awesome. Took some progressions, just feels strong. You'll notice like it's an explosive, relative concentric. You should have future movements like that with control. Remember that was something John Meadows said, like explosive, like under control, concentric, and then again move through control with eccentric. That's the key on all these back moves, is controlling the eccentric. Someone was asking about how do I get all my steps in. Well, one thing is between rest sets. So for one, I time my rest periods to keep me always on pace to where it's not too long. Also, it's not too short. Another thing is I get my steps in during my rest periods. Just walk around the gym. For one, get your steps in. Also, it keeps you can stay focused. Otherwise, sitting around, someone might come talk to you, so it prevents you from talking. And so that's how I can get some extra steps. And if you think about a 2-minute rest period, you could get in 150 steps. Easily, you can rack up 2,000-3,000 steps in a session, and not have it being fatiguing. So it's not taking away training, because you can walk around the gym and just get in your head and get psyched up for your next set, and then go get after it. A lot of times on prep, people start sitting around. Just sit around. You come in lazier in the gym. So and another thing is my pet peeve: seeing posing between sets. If you train hard in your sets, you should be able to fucking pose between your sets, especially with all your fucking workout clothes on. What are you looking at? What are you doing? Like, have your posing practice separate in your suit, good quality, and then have your rest periods be rest periods. Anyway, bent over rows next. So bent over row, this is coming in place, and I've moved away from my SLDL. As you go through prep, you're gonna have certain lifts that if you're seeing those start to drop, it's usually because of bracing issues. And it's not something you need to adjust off your whole session. Like maybe you see your dumbbell bench start to drop, like move to something more braced so you can keep that stimulus high on the muscle. Now for me, my RDL was becoming heavily like a little bit more lower back biased and even problematic from an injury perspective for bracing. I don't get as much out of it as I need. My main priority is like lat trap, not hamstring either. So once I started seeing that slip away, I needed to prioritize back within that. So that's why the bent over row came in. I can keep some lower back stimulus from a maintenance perspective for my erectors, that's enough. Also brought in a glute drive for some glute work in place. So just limiting fatigue in that way. Some people moving to maybe a good morning might be a better option, like a machine type good morning. So it just depends on like what's your need, what's your purpose of trying to maintain that lift, and then moving to the right movement from there. And it might be breaking apart a movement to where if you're doing an SLDL, maybe you do a glute drive, a ham curl, and some type of back extension, and spread that out across the week to get that stimulus, but not have it be so systemically fatiguing. But anyway, bent over rows in. I do 3 sets here. Did 4 sets in the pull down, and wrap this one up. This is almost like a pin delay row, so I do stay very bent over for some of the erector stimulus that's there. Again, like I can SLDL quite a bit, so some people are like, oh well, you're not going to be able to your bracing is going to be a limiting factor, and at least this point in prep, it's not. Once it becomes that, then we shift to something that is chest supported. So. Just remember, on your bent over rows, like you can bend over less to make it more lat, but I think it makes a lot of sense to bend over quite a bit, load the erectors, and also let the elbow flare out a bit, so it's more of an upper back biased row. Just lightly set these down. Don't let them slam. Remember, own that eccentric the whole time. All right, so I did 3 sets on this single arm lat base row. Where guys, you don't need to like turn sideways. Just get enough lateral flexion that you can keep that elbow close enough to the side. Feel your lower lat. Some people ask, what do you do with your other hand while you're rowing? And to counter some of the rotational force, what I do is grab my pocket, reach over, and grab the pocket like that on your shorts. Just don't rip your shorts off. And that can help you have some type of bracing. So that'll wrap up the compound back work. Move on to a glute bridge, which I suck at. All right, so you don't get to see me do these very often. Tips to get more out of your glute with these and set it up to where it's pretty precise. For one, foot placement. You want it on the platform to where your leg will form a 90-degree angle with the angle of the platform. So that tibia, when it's coming down, it shouldn't be with the ground, it should be angled at 90 with the platform. That means that the knee is stacked directly over the ankle. Also, what you'll notice in the video is that there's not a lot of forward knee drift or backward drift. If you're seeing a lot of backward drift, you're getting kind of outside the range of where you're gonna have glute involved. You lose a little bit, and that's okay. The next cue to set up on these is set the belt pretty low. So it should be right across the pubic bone. And then what I want you to do is drive into that strap directly up to the ceiling. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking about pushing back and driving their traps back. And what that does is you end up using a lot of quad. You're gonna feel like you're gonna push your feet off the platform. That's what you don't want. So to keep that knee over the ankle, drive your pelvis up to the sky, up to the ceiling. That'll keep a lot of glute focus on it. Might use a lot less load. Right into this isolation work. So we have a rear delt, cable fly, using the prime pec deck. Cam is set on 5, so it's loads heavier than the lengthen, lets off as you get to the shorten. What do you have jam to when you listen, when you train? What's that one song that you put on when it's time to murder it? I'll tell you what mine is. It's Mudvayne, Dull Boy. That's it. That'll light me up. I've listened to that on repeat so many times. I'm like from that late 90s. It's almost like whatever you listen to in middle school, that's what you'll rage on. So that was in that new metal era. But now I do get mainly a lot of metalcore, which Fit for a King is, man, they have some solid, like just a list of killer songs. Another one from them for like just a hard set is Shattered Glass. That song is pretty fucking murder. So let's hear it below. I'll see if I can add something to my playlist. What's that one song that you put on when you got the hard set? Right, so I do a cable curl today, and set this one up so the cable hits 90 degrees with the arm, just almost right out of the bottom. That way it loads the bicep lengthen when it can produce the most force, but also lets off at the top. When the bicep gets short, it's hard to get a contraction then too. So the cable starts lining up with the form and it gets a little easier. So with the cable, you can match the strength curve with the resistance profile really, really well. You'll also notice that I am not completely set straight shoulder to shoulder with the cable. And it's hard for me to get external rotation and stay upright. You notice like I'll curl, this is comfortable here. So all I do is turn a little bit. That will line up the cable with my natural path of movement that I want to follow. So if you're someone that can't get a lot of external rotation, you find yourself curling where the hand moves across the bottom, across the body, that's where a single arm cable can really shine. All right, last exercise today is a hammer curl. I do it preacher on a incline bench. Same idea, like normal or your dumbbell hammer curls, just standing. It's like no tension on the bottom. Then it gets really hard as you go up, which is also the time when the brachialis has the hardest time contracting too. So with a preacher curl or incline bench, you can match up that profile well to where it'll load heavy when the brachialis is fully stretched, and the brachioradialis for that matter. And then as you go up, it lets off, and the muscle also has a harder time contracting. So do 2 sets here, 3 sets on the cable curl, and that wraps up pull day. Right, Renee and I are very Texan. We bought guns.
I'm an official Texan now.
Renee bought a handgun Saturday. This new Shadow Systems CR 920p, so it's a subcompact 9mm with a compensator. So for the shorter barrel, it reduces some of the like muzzle rise and recoil. I have a Glock 23 that I haven't carried because it's just too large and heavy, and then she bought hers and I got jealous. So like, I want the same one as you. So came in today and got some extra magazines. They had to order them, so all I have is a magazine after buying all that stuff. So
but we'll have them in 2 to 3 weeks.
So shooting is our new hobby we're taking up. It's prep friendly and we like it. So
plus it's practical skill.
Yeah,
right?
it was practical.
Yeah, I think so.